A cancer diagnosis changes everything, body, mind, and spirit. It's a journey that demands more than medical treatment. It requires clarity, courage, and resilience.
Styled for Strength, presented by Bahari.
On Style for Strength, we're joined by clinical psychologist Dr. Stephanie Hutcheson, who specializes in helping individuals prepare mentally and emotionally for the fight ahead. Because the fight may be in the body, but it starts in the mind. Welcome, Dr. Hutcheson.
Thank you for having me.
So great to have you here with us today. So when someone first receives a cancer diagnosis, what typically happens in their mental and emotional states?
I can wear two hats with this, my own experience, but also experiences of others. And I don't think it's necessarily a one-size-fits-all, because there's some people who may have an early diagnosis, and then there's some people who may have a later diagnosis, and I think the dynamics of that may be a bit different, or someone who has a recurrence, and so you have the dynamics of that being different. But I think one of the primary experiences you have, sometimes it's just shock. Like, this cannot be happening. Are you sure you got the test right? Can you look at that again? So I think the shock of it, the numbness of it, sometimes people can even descend into uncontrollable distress, because when we hear cancer, we think death. There's a lot more that we know now in terms of early diagnosis extending, being able to extend life, and so many more treatments are available. But I think about my own experience, I've had cancer twice, diagnosed with cancer twice. The first time, shock, shut down, had to reboot the computer. That's how I like to think of it. The second time, also I found it distressing, and I found that I taped myself the second time, so I was able to go back and listen to what my emotional reaction was. And it was very tearful and very scary, because I didn't want to go through it again. So you don't want to go through it the first time, and you definitely don't want to go through it again.
Wow, so having gone through it twice, as you mentioned, what's the first thing you encourage people to do mentally to ground themselves after a diagnosis?
It was helpful for me to meet with my medical team. What's the game plan? What are we going to do? And for both, I remember my physician team telling me, let's deal with this aggressively, and let's try to schedule the appointments as fast as possible in terms of, combating the illness. And so that was like the first assault in terms of dealing with the cancer diagnosis. And then very quickly, I marshaled my team, called them my tribe. That's my family and my friends, my support group, because this is something you don't want to go through alone. I know some people think of themselves as very private, and they may not want to share, but I don't think this is an experience that you can go through alone. Your tribe or team might be small, or it may be large, but you need those people to emotionally strengthen you and get your back, but you also practically, they can be ears and eyes in your appointments.
Right.
When I went with my second diagnosis, I had 5 people in the room with the doctor. So what I missed and what I didn't record, they caught. Questions that I couldn't think about, they were able to think about. And so you want to marshal your medical team and your support team.
And that almost leads me into my other question, where I was going to ask you about specific techniques or habits that help people build mental resilience during treatment. But that's a good idea to,
Right.
to have your team with you and to record, and that keeps you focused. But what about fear? How important is it to acknowledge fear, and how do we prevent it from taking over?
I think recognizing that that's a part of the emotional experience, the shock, the numbness, the anger even, like, why is this happening to me? But the fear, recognizing that that doesn't mean that you are weak. It's a natural response to a potentially life-threatening and life-limiting illness. What I would caution people is, don't let the fear keep you stuck. Because I think for too many people, sometimes even following up with appointments, people don't go because they don't want to know. But if it's cancer and you don't know, it's not going to benefit you. So even if you're afraid, do what you need to do afraid.
Do it anyway.
Do it afraid and do it. That's why the support is so necessary, because they can, as I said, they can be your psychological scaffolding to help you to be able to manage what you're going through. So recognize that you may be feeling the fear. Feel it. Don't run away from it.
Just keep going.
Feel it. Don't try to push it. Feel it. And believe it or not, from my experience, it will kind of minimize, or the intensity may lessen. And even if you have to do it afraid,
just get it done.
Yeah.
So then what advice would you give to someone who feels emotionally overwhelmed but doesn't know how to ask for help? Maybe those people who may not have a village, or who are trying to cultivate a village now following this diagnosis.
I think that would be very helpful to talk with the physician. What do I need to do? And it may also mean that the person may have to kind of push themselves a little more to let someone know, so that you can have the other brain, the other mind, the other person helping you to navigate the experience. I think that will be helpful in terms of just reaching out to someone. The support groups that we have here, the Sister Breast Cancer Support Group, they are excellent in terms of walking with you through your experience if you don't have your village. They will be your village.
It makes a lot of sense.
And also, as a professional psychologist, sometimes you need that professional help.
Yes.
Because it can be overwhelming to the extent that those who support you may not know what to do. And so sometimes you may need professional support. I did.
Makes a lot of sense. So our segment now is called Style for Strength. How do you define strength in the context of a cancer journey?
I would define it as recognizing your vulnerability, but still showing up and still persevering and pressing through what you're going through. That's how I would define it.
And what does mental recovery then look like in terms of after, when treatment ends? Is the emotional healing process often overlooked, do you think?
No, it's overlooked. I think it's even overlooked during treatment, because I was fortunate in that when I went through first and second diagnosis, that I was in an environment where there were psychoeducational and support programs as a part of the oncology clinic.
Okay.
And so I even went to chemotherapy class to kind of prepare me for what was going to happen. And those were people with all kinds of cancer diagnoses. They had support groups. They had education groups so that you could know about nutrition, your medication, what would be happening. And so I think those features are really important in terms of helping you navigate the experience.
Just don't do it alone.
Don't do it
Make
alone.
it happen. The village is important.
Right.
Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much, Dr. Hutcheson. This was
Good
such
to
a
be here.
pleasure chatting with you today, for reminding us that strength starts in the mind. It's also about support, courage, and how we face each new day.
Absolutely.
So definitely, I appreciate this conversation in particular with you today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And now, from strength within to the spirit of the canvas. Coming up next on our Culture in Color segment, we're featuring a local painter who's just opened a stunning new exhibition called Islands of the Soul, where the ocean meets the spirit. Don't go anyway. That's next.
If you would like to be a part of What's Trending, DM us on Instagram at What's Trending on ZNS.